Death is Absent is the fifth full-length album from Finnish black metal band Aethyrick. I would say this is an atmospheric and melodic black metal band, and one that is a duo who've been around for just a little while now, just about 10 years almost. Their style is, initially I had felt like it was an atmospheric take on black metal that had a lot to do with a certain era of Ulver. I compared the band to like Winterfelleth and a certain era of baptism, and which was a little bit more aggressive and certainly Finnish in style at the time. They weren't as typically influenced as some kind of felt at the time. I saw a lot of references to Dissection and bands like that for their earlier releases, but it was clear that wasn't exactly all there was to it, and they weren't as quick to stride into a gallant or heavily melodic piece the way that a lot of Swedish work classically does. The pacing is usually very even, and the work is typically very fine in terms of both performances, render, and curation of artwork. It's been very consistent throughout their entire discography, and the promise of a new album is something to celebrate every time they come up with one. And it's been a few years, but you'll find I've highly rated all of their releases to date. Spoilers here, but this is another great record for this band. So let's cut to a song and talk about what's new, what's different, and what is there to be excited about here after five of these things. Now, I don't know if this is a cliche or not, but the latest Aetherick record is typically going to be the best. I wasn't sure if this would be any different, and they still sound like Aetherick. I think the thing that they noted in the press release was that the pacing was a little bit more intense on this one. They've tried a couple of different things. Maybe the melodic directives are a little bit more direct at times, or some of the faster paced songs or get to the point quicker. But overall, we are getting a follow up to Pilgrimage more directly in terms of their musicianship. Now, that was a pretty sleepy album, and Apotheosis was probably even more sleepy in terms of slower pacing, more atmosphere driven by keyboards. And on this album, you do find keyboards gilding these songs, but a little bit more of a guitar driven directive overall. And I think that makes for an album that is a little bit refreshing after a couple of years off. It makes for a record that has a lot to say. This feels like the lyrics are a little bit more verbose than the last one. They're telling a different type of story overall, and the guitar work feels like it is more focused on the presence of the two main rhythm guitar nodes and all the interplay they can work in between, again, the verbose vocal performances. There's a lot to pack into each of these songs when the synth and the keyboard features heavily on some of them. The way that they make all this work is that they create a sort of spatial relationship where the keyboards are more of an ethereal higher up in the mix, the drums kind of anchoring it down with a little bit more of an organic sound than they've had in the past. And so it leaves the guitars to do a lot of the conversating beyond the vocals themselves, and that makes for a lot of arcing movements that are heavily melodic that they're known for. And my comment here, which is probably the most standout thing for my own taste, is there's almost a Greek black metal touch or an interest to some of these songs where you do feel there's a bit of heavy metal in the way that they're forming these songs, and not that they're rock songs at all, but more that they're striding along in the way that a lot of Hellenic black metal did during its heyday. That is a very strong point of interest for me, and I continue to be a huge fan of this band. I appreciate that the tone of their discography is very consistent, but they do find a way to make the dramatic melancholy of their work have different types of voicing on each record so that they feel singular. I could probably pick out one song from each album if you played one after another. So I think there's a personality there. Certainly a craft there, and it goes again from the artwork to the production to the actual performance of these songs and their sophisticated songwriting. This is just a top tier band in terms of this type of music, and one that's impressed me with basically every song they've written to date. So this is no different. I would say this is a high recommendation as one of the best albums of September, and something that I think fans of this band will really appreciate as they pick it up. So if you're already a fan, it's an easy yes on this one. If you've not heard of this band before, again, the latest thing they've done is the best thing they've done in most cases. They seem to get better with every release, and that continues to be true with this one. So check it out for yourself. It released on September 13th, and read my review for more in-depth thoughts from me.
A man